I'm Nimit Desai. I'm going to walk through how the eventing service is being used for building some of our rapid retail in-store solutions that we have built from the cloud. And I'll be accompanied with Elliot Winskill, our head of solutions. I am a principal enterprise architect with PMC India Private Limited. And I have been working in the software industry for around 20 years with mostly web-based projects into cutting-edge technologies. From last 8 years, I have been working as a solution architect, mostly into design and architecture field. In terms of domain, I have been working mostly into the finance-based projects where it was cards and payment practices are the main kind of domains. And recently, from last 3 years with PMC, I have been working for retail projects. Have got a good exposure in terms of microservice and various cutting edge architecture and technology pattern in last few years, and have been playing a key role into design and architecture world for last 8 years. I'll hand it over now to Elliot Winskill to talk about who we are, and there are some interesting aspects about the use cases and the business domain that we work in. Elliot, over to you.
Perfect. So yeah, hi everyone. I thought it was really important just before we get into the deep dive is to give you a bit of background to why we've built things in the way we have, and why Nimit's gone on the journey that he has. So I've been with PMC just over 8 years, and I've focused very heavily on how solution use cases and how technology is delivered to great outcomes. And I think that's the most important place to start. So next slide, please, Nimit. So I thought just a quick one about who PMC are. PMC are a retail technology service provider based out of the UK and India, operating across most of Europe and into other regions within the world. We do a set of services, whether that be managed services, consulting, support services, or professional services. And in that world, we build and do a lot of development on behalf of our customers to really deliver great outcomes. And that's what's brought us into this leading class world of cloud and microservice tool sets. We focus very heavily on how we can help that digital transformation journey, which is currently becoming a massive focus point for many businesses within the retail and B2C space. One of the key storylines that is pretty much consistent across most of the retail and B2C world at the moment is around making sure relationships are different. Now, what does that mean in a technology standpoint? In a technology standpoint, that means the days of having one solution that can do everything that you ever need, and it has one use case or a set of use cases, and everything you ever need to do in your business can be mapped to this one solution is evaporating. That what our retailers and B2C customers want is engaging, trusted, convenient, and most importantly, personal experiences for both their staff, their customers, and the experience that they portray into the market. Now, what that means for us is that we have to be the technology service provider that can provide the bespoke edges, the layer of bespoke that makes that retailer unique, that enables them to do things with these big systems slightly differently. What that means from a modern store perspective for our retailers is understanding how they can build in the cloud now, how they can implement rather than one big solution that can do it. They can implement many best of breed solutions that deliver very focused and targeted outcomes on what it is that function's meant to be able to do, to be able to mobilize where they can, to be able to bring the real harness of mobility more than specifically mobile devices, that mobility into their store environments, as you've had from an e-com and in kind of a digital world for the past decade. How to make payments work, how to ensure that the customer is getting that great seamless experience. But the biggest challenge is then, how do you bring it all together? How do you make all of this work in a new world? And that's where the opportunity lies. There are many big solutions that are out there that operate across these key areas, these principal commerce solutions that we deal with in our retail and B2C space. For us, our focus, our core guide is how do we build technology? How do we have the right skills, the right technology, and the right services to wrap the retailer or the B2C around all these systems and just help them bring it together, which of course, like any solution, any use case, it starts with data, it starts with users. So the transition to cloud is going to be the biggest challenge for retail and B2C is how they bring it together. How do they integrate all of that stuff, all of these things that are happening in their world? How do they bring them into unified true commerce? And that comes down to three key principles, and that's data, that's users, and that's integration. And those three things have got to be well aligned and designed in a new, more advanced way than they have been before, taking into consideration the historical elements that need to be done. So the challenge we went on when building our integration software, our platform that is designed to bring together all of these solutions, to deliver great solutions where required in the retailer, was how do we manage data? How do we truly manage data, and how do we deliver it to different edge points within the stack, whether that be in the cloud, whether that be at servers, or whether that be directly to a mobile edge? You know, how do we do that without the fear of offline, without the data loss or the fear? And also, how do we do it where we can manipulate that data when it comes back to source to make sure that whatever we are harnessing in our central cloud infrastructure is a fully online managed set of data, a single source of truth at the end point, at the end of the journey. And that's where, using serverless technology alongside Couchbase, we have been able to rapidly develop solutions that can deliver great outcomes. We can overnight decide we want to build a solution, and 10 weeks later have a truly scalable solution, whether that be for a use case of mobility, whether that be for a use case of bringing e-com into the store, whether that be a use case of a stock and inventory management, whatever the use case the retail or the B2C customer has, we've now got that core underpinning architecture that allows us to manipulate and control where data, where users, and where integration needs to sit and how it can be managed. And we've done that through the service technology, but utilizing the Couchbase Lite for mobility, the Couchbase Sync Gateway to give us that really strong end-to-end synchronization control. And the piece that we struggled with most, and we're going to focus on today, was then how do we harness the critical functions of yesteryear, the batch processing, the data manipulation, the real-time stuff that's just happening in the background that used to be done via databases or SQL scripts or batch files or all of these more traditional approaches to basically manipulate data and put it or move it or pull it or push it into the right place to deliver the kind of back-end outcomes that maybe the customer experience doesn't see. It's a hard part to deliver, but actually it's a super critical piece. It may never get seen by a front-end user. It never drives anything in the experience, but without it, you never deliver successful outcomes and you never really get true integration. So our MVP for offline was a really critical part of our solution, that ability to drop data into different levels. But actually, when we implemented that, we hit a major challenge of how to then manipulate and manage that data on the way out. And that's where eventing came in and delivered some unbelievably critical functions that would historically have been a more challenging batch process approach. But we're now able to do that in a truly modern technological standpoint and deliver great outcomes faster because we're utilizing eventing as well. So I'm going to stop there and hand over to Nimit now, who's going to take you on a bit of a journey into the world of how we've used eventing and how eventing is now such a critical part of our solution, even if it's not the sexy bit that the customer sees on the front end. Over to you, Nimit.
Thank you, Elliot. What did eventing solve for our solutions? So we start with the problem statement in more detailed way. Elliot has already given a kind of high level idea about who we are and how what we do and what kind of business solutions we are providing to our customers. Now we kind of we'll go into more detail and deep dive into the exact kind of use cases or situations where we needed some solution in terms of either a traditional batch process or an ETL, standard extract transfer load kind of situation, or a regular, a Java process, which can basically read the records from the database or some other data store and, process it in a long running fashion. So if I jump into a detailed kind of use cases, and I've kind of separated them into various categories. So there were quite a few interesting use cases in terms of data enrichment that we had. There were certain, and as Couchbase is a document-oriented database, there were scenarios where, once the document has been added by either a web service or a Couchbase Lite synchronization process, there was a need to add certain information. If that information is added at the time of getting added on the user screen, it will take a long time in terms of getting it added, since that will require a huge amount of query and processing time to add some information to documents, which will basically require going through various other documents, various other buckets, pulling the information and attach it to a particular document, so that when the document is supposed to be searched again, it would be faster. But when the document is first time added, for a perceived fast notion and even for an actual real speed, we could not add the information right and then itself, and we wanted to do it at a later stage in the document, which basically need to pull up all the documents of the same type, get them, add the data to enrich the quality of it, and then leave it there. But that will require an entire processing of thousands of records that we are adding, and we cannot make user wait for that to do that. Also, there were scenarios where there was an additional data which we wanted to remove it, and that was for some specific use cases where we wanted to reduce the storage space and all that when this is added for the first time. But after a few months or so, we don't really need certain amount of data, and we want to kind of slice it and remove the unwanted piece. And that's what I'm still calling it as a data enrichment, because we're basically improving the quality of the data as per the need. So that was a kind of first set of use cases, and they were needed for faster search for our transaction documents, for some of our modules called transaction management, which were basically taking care of various cash and credit card transactions, which will store the information about the basket and bucket, which is part of our retail store transaction. So this was more falling into that. Another scenario where we needed to do a data export, and that is again falling into a sales kind of transaction. These transactions were required to be exported to the customer system. So we have a SaaS solution in place, which is hosted in our own environment, and it's a multi-tenant system. But there was a certain amount of need of an export of a set of transactions to the customer database. And we built an entire solution into Lambda function to execute an export. But then that was requiring to work on all the transactions that are put in place, which could be like thousands of stores of customers. So there could be tens of thousands of transactions getting put into the system every day, or even more during the peak times, and that was supposed to be exported to the customer system in their own way. So I think there is also a requirement of reformatting to match their legacy system. So they had a legacy database in MS SQL, and it's a RDBMS database, it's not a JSON store. And our export required to be modified the document, or basically transform the document into the MS SQL based data structure, which was quite stringent and not kind of matching exactly the structure we had in place. So that data export was another kind of set of use cases. There was a data trimming, which is a little bit similar to what data enrichment removal, but this was specifically trimming needed was mainly for ensuring the documents size reduction to save the storage size on a mobile device. So we have an extensive use of Couchbase Lite with the Couchbase Sync Gateway. A lot of our documents regarding the user and user has got a huge amount of data associated with each user. And we keep a lot of information in an embedded model for us to retrieve them in a faster manner on our website on the backend side. But on the mobile device, we need a very limited data depending upon the need of the use case and all. And we really didn't want the entire document to be synced to the mobile device in the same size or a same structure. We wanted to slice it and push that downsized document to the mobile. And this is also another use cases where we were kind of thinking how we can run a process which will basically slice all the documents and make it smaller, which was important for our offline use case because the entire Couchbase Lite and synchronization is important for offline. Next one was a very standard data-driven processing. So whenever there were offline transactions that happens, when we say offline, when the network connectivity goes in the stores, the retail store users still continue with the business and they keep on taking some of the offline sales that is stored in the Couchbase Lite database. And when the connectivity is back up, that data is pushed to the server using Couchbase Sync Gateway's out-of-box solution. But when that data reaches to the server, there is a certain amount of server-side updates required to be done. For example, updating the safe amounts, the drawer amounts for the cache management. And those things are to be required to be executed on the server side, which could not be executed during offline time. So whenever these transactions get synced up back to the server, at that time, we do need to run a certain amount of logic through that transaction and update our safe and drawer and many other entities to be done. And that is again requiring some kind of processing on the server side. So those are the kind of various use cases which are very critical in our business. And we were thinking to go with the AWS batch or some kind of standard Java VM based batch processing, which will run on a scheduled cron events and all that, which are pretty much traditional, kind of solutions. And that will require us to go in a very server based architecture, a traditional VM architecture. And, as far as AWS Lambda is concerned, which is our major, component for our entire business logic processing, would not support a long running transaction. So there is a standard timeout of 30 seconds of API gateway and 15 minutes timeout for the entire Lambda processing. That is the maximum time frame that AWS supports. And that was a intentional thing. And AWS clearly states that you should not really use your AWS Lambda functions for doing the long running transaction or a batch processing. And you should not really do any ETL. The 15 minutes is much more than what Lambda is designed for. And we really couldn't use Lambda functions to do a long running transaction or any kind of batching. And we kind of got into either a full traditional require old style VM kind of solution, or we have to kind of make multi-Lambda, multi-processor, so many Lambdas concurrently running, and there will be a kind of controlling Lambda. But then again, there were scenarios where if the controlling Lambda is also very long running, it may hit the 15 minutes scenario. And that kind of put us in a very challenging space, how we can stick to our standard serverless architecture for our all such business logic execution and still achieve the use cases that we went through in the earlier slide. And that's where the Couchbase eventing was a great alternative to trigger all the data processing in a almost real-time basis, where there was, and that too with each and every small data mutation that happens. And Couchbase eventing supports that extends pretty extensively in terms of how this data could be processed in a real-time basis. So if I move on to the next step, where how we leverage various features of Couchbase eventing. So just to, in a very high level sense, to walk through what are the important eventing features that we leverage. And there are many more, but these are the key ones that we used in our system for supporting all the different use cases that we talked about. The eventing service is a kind of eventing, is a small logical code or a small code snippet that gets executed. It could be bigger as well, but based on what we have observed, me and my team, is how eventing executes is mostly good for a quick and small and precise or concise kind of code snippets, and it supports all events like addition of the documents, or basically insertion of the document and updating of the document and deletion of the document. It also supports existing documents execution. So if you've already got all the events covered and you've already executed eventing function, or you didn't have an eventing function earlier when insertion or the deletion or updation of the document happened, at that time we had no eventing function in place. At the later stage, if the eventing function is introduced, you can still execute them on the existing documents which are present. So there are no new insertion updates events, but you can still tell, okay, whatever is existing, execute this logic on all of them. More like a rule running in Outbox or Outlook, where you basically do a rule setup and then you run it on all the existing emails. There is also support of curl URL call. So when you have a bigger logic to be executed, like we head into transaction processing, I normally prefer not to put all that logic inside the eventing because that kind of defeats the purpose of having a simple and concise code. You can have the entire service or web service running, and you can put a webhook using a curl URL support that is provided into the 6.5 version of Couchbase, and that takes you to making a call to a web service, which could be implemented using AWS Lambda, which was the case for us with the API gateway and AWS Lambda. And then that curl URL could be invoked from the eventing function. It supports a standard JavaScript runtime. So it's very easy to code. Anybody knowing a plain JavaScript code can execute it or can write that code. And that's why the whole eventing function code writing is as simple and as smaller as you can imagine. And that takes care of so many huge number of data records processing. So if I'll try to show this, which will make more sense if I show it on the Couchbase console, and that will give more idea about what I'm talking about, how we leverage the eventing service. So I'll just switch to a Couchbase UI console. This is all could be done through Couchbase CLI and API also, but just for a better visual, I would utilize the Couchbase console or a UI console from our pre-production environment. So this is the Couchbase console. And there are various services that loads into the left panel, as the people who know about Couchbase and have used extensively will know. And it's very simple, straightforward interface. If you go to the eventing tab, this shows like a set of eventing functions that we created. And if I kind of take this one by one, starting with the first use case where we talked about data enrichment or data trimming. So if we go into user offline processing, there are settings here. So if I just walk through the settings for a moment. Yeah, so you can set up a separate source bucket. In this case, orchestration manager was our source bucket. And that source bucket would be basically executing on. So there is a concept of bucket in the Couchbase, and every bucket would have a specific group of data that is stored in it. So you can choose which bucket you want this function to be applied or this logic to execute. There are detailed settings where you can set up the logs, and you can also set up the different workers. So here you can configure, so by default it's a 3 workers, and you can configure various numbers of workers, which is going to help execute this event in parallel. If we have a multiple processors, and if you want to run them parallelly, multiple processes could be run parallelly based on the number of workers that you have and the capacity we have. You can set the timeouts. This is a very important kind of settings, the bindings, where we can set up a different bucket. So from the eventing function, though the source bucket shows that which documents will trigger this function or which buckets document will trigger with these functions, we can take up multiple buckets from and read the data from it, use that data for the logic. So we can just put a bucket, multiple buckets here. Here we have used the same bucket, but there could be multiple buckets there. But there was one more here which says OM light bucket, which is another bucket called orchestration light. And you can choose whether you want to read from that bucket or do something of the data inside that. So that is read and write. And there is also a meta bucket. So these are the important settings that are useful to do the cross bucket logic writing. If I go into the logic a little bit so that can be seen how simple that is. So this is the all data that we have or the code we have. And if you see, this is the only kind of logic that we wanted to write. And this is a typical example of a small processing to be done. Here we are doing removing not required fields and modify that. So if you can see, we check if every time a user type of document is inserted or updated, it gets in here, and based on the type checking, we kind of trim it and change the remove some of the fields that are not required. And then this is the generate user offline object. We pass this document there, and here we are deleting various non-required fields, and then returning the document. That's all the code it has. And then in the OM light bucket is another bucket where we are storing this light. And this bucket has got a synchronization gateway, sync gateway attached to it, which stores all the lighter documents, and it pushes back to the CB light database on the devices. So this way we are storing or basically saving the bandwidth on the mobile. As you can see, it's a very simple and straightforward kind of code, and that it makes it run on each and every document that we get that gets inserted and all. So that's the first set of thing. There is another use case that we referred to, which is an export use case. And I'll just directly jump into the code to go into a more detail. So if you can see, here we are utilizing the function or the feature of curl. So there is a bigger processing. As I mentioned, this required each and every sales document to be transformed and inserted into Microsoft SQL database. There were multiple tables there, and we wanted to pull like different data fields from this each document of sale transaction and export it to various tables of MS SQL. We really didn't want to code all that here, and really you should not use the eventing function to that kind of complicated logic. All you can do is create an API and make a call to it and pass that document. So here, as you can see, all we have done here is made a curl call to a sales export URL. It's a post sales export is another environmental variable that we created, like the bucket alias and all. I'll show that. And then we receive the response if it is success and there is an error handling and all that. But if we, as you can see, this is as simple as that, and this get called, a web service is called in each and every sales transaction document insertion or updation. And these are some interesting lines which someone may think what exactly it is and why this complex part. We'll talk about that when we kind of go into the challenges that we faced during this implementation. So this is one more example of how export happened. I think I will move on to some of the challenges that there are many more eventing functions that we created. Like this one is about data processing, update drawer and store session. I'm not going into the details of each one of them, but these were the other use cases where we wanted the data to be processed after offline transactions and all. And these are the other functions that takes care of it. I'll just go back in the interest of time to go into the next set of things that I want to talk about. So we did face some interesting challenges when we tried to implement eventing or leverage eventing. They were initially difficult for us, and then we find solutions or workaround to them, how we can handle those. And it's very important for the people who are looking for utilizing eventing for some of the critical use cases. So these are the few of the eventing challenges that we faced and how we solved them. So the first and foremost, still Couchbase 7.0, there is no role-based access control of eventing service. So if you want to give control of eventing to any user, you have to give them an administrator right. So that was kind of keeping us away from giving rights to the developers, and we cannot give admin right to each and every developer in the production environment. How we kind of solved it is more on a process-driven solution. We kind of identified some of the key people from the team, and they were only doing the eventing deployment. But this has been addressed in the newer version of Couchbase, and there is a role-based access control given for eventing service as well. All other service of Couchbase does have a role-based access control. For the version we were using, eventing was not supporting that, but this has been addressed by the Couchbase team. Until that has been there, we can set up a standard process to, ensuring the eventing happens is taken care by only the key people or key developers or the leaders in the team. There was one interesting scenario where we could not use the same source and target bucket for a bucket which has a sync gateway attached. So if we kind of try to update the document in the same bucket from where the eventing has been triggered, it's not allowed if the bucket has been attached to a sync gateway. And this was a very interesting challenge, and Couchbase team gave us a very good logical reason there why it should not be allowed. Because if we kind of update the same document in the logic that we've written, it will trigger a synchronization event to the light, and basically it will trigger the eventing function again because there will be a sync event, and then that will put us in a infinite loop. There is a way we can logically ensure that we don't do that, but for the safety sake, this thing is taken care by Couchbase team by not allowing the same destination and source bucket, especially when you are manipulating a bucket which has a sync gateway attached. How we resolve this is we created a small separate bucket, and basically after we get an eventing function triggered from the source bucket, we push the code, push the logic into a separate target bucket, or push the data into a separate target bucket like we did in OM and OM Lite. There is another way to solve it is even if it's a small piece of code, you can trigger a web service using curl URL, which will basically let you do a manipulation, whatever you want to do in whichever bucket. But eventing, just for the safety sake, will ensure that we don't trigger or update the same target bucket data if you have a sync gateway attached, and which makes sense. We are kind of working around when we really badly need this situation by curl or by having a separate bucket for target. We did find the deployment process a little bit slow when we were doing this through UI. And one way to do that, to handle that, is using an API of deployment and undeployment. This was again, a problem solved by Couchbase support team, where we requested them to, help us with that because the UI doesn't respond very well and all that. Again, as I understand, I think some of the newer versions of Couchbase are going to take care of this. But at this point of time, if the UI is taking long time to respond, we did our deployments and undeployments using the API. There is a kind of REST API that eventing REST API that Couchbase support, and those APIs allows you to deploy, undeploy, create functions, delete functions, and there is a rich set of APIs that you can use. You need to use an administrator user there, but I think that's one way to handle the slow deployment process situation. This was no configurable filters and code-driven items is something that we can handle through code. But our thinking was, if we have some more configurations in terms of types to filter the documents, we really don't need to write the code for it. But even if you write it through the code, you can handle it. You can check if the document type is, say, offline or user, whatever type is that, as I was showing, you can handle the code. The last one is, there is a plain JavaScript runtime, and it's very interesting. It's a pro as well as con. So if you think of it, it's limited. You have only plain JavaScript. There is no NPM or Node package manager support there. There is no Node runtime. There is a two-way to look at that. If you introduce a Node.js runtime, you have a huge amount of libraries and all that available to use. But to keep the eventing code simple and concise, it's a good idea to keep it plain JavaScript. I think that is the logic Couchbase team is considering. And in that scenario, if you really have a complex logic to be executed, make a curl call is the way to solve it. And inside a curl call, you can have another web service called which can use Node.js runtime or any other runtime that has multiple libraries support. So that's a kind of challenges and how we overcame some of those. But all in all, I think there are a huge amount of benefits compared to the challenges that we came across in eventing. A very simple low code approach, to be specific, to handle the millions of records. As you could see, very, very simple and straightforward. There is a quick turnaround in terms of reprocessing of the data, where we can execute the entire set of data again. And if, let's say, the export for us, many times the sales export went incorrect because of the code errors. We did fix the code and we re-executed. It was just a click of a button and it executed and on the entire set of records, which is more like re-execute the batch, which was just a button click. No major tracking of the status that we need to do in a traditional batch processing, that we have to ensure that, okay, whether this data was processed or not, because this is all out of box provided by Couchbase. So we are relying on Couchbase that it will ensure that each and every record has been processed and it has triggered the eventing. Last but not the least, you can have an out of box parallel processing without the complex multi-threading implementation. Where in the old world, if you want to have multi-threads running and all that, there is a lot of code driven or a server thread driven implementation that will be needed. Here, you just configure multiple workers on the eventing, as I showed earlier on the console, and that will take care of multiple threads processing for the eventing. Just need to be careful in terms, if you really need a sequential processing, then you cannot use parallel. But as far as you want to do, you're fine with having no sequential processing. You can use the number of workers to be configured. Just need to provision the right kind of hardware, and it will take care of multi-threading or a multiple parallel processing that is provided by Couchbase eventing out of box. So that's what all I wanted to cover in terms of how we leveraged eventing for our interesting use cases and quite critical in our business. Elliot, you want to add something more on the top of how it helped us?
So thank you, Nimit. And I think that the summary of the benefits of eventing is clear, is that, the challenge that you face when building solutions is how do you bring together both old, new, different technologies, different approaches. And I think what eventing has enabled us to do is to really flexibly do a lot of the more traditional batch-based processing or manipulation that actually has allowed us to really use data to its best standpoint. And that's really important, because whether it is a transaction export into a legacy database, or it's a manipulation to make sure that we're only delivering to the edge the information that's needed and no extra, so we've always got this minimal viable offline, they're completely different use cases. But actually, quite simply using eventing, we've been able to very quickly fix those problems, those challenges, with solutions that are scalable and can grow with us as we grow with our retailers. And that's the fundamental behind why eventing is now so important to us. So just as a kind of final page, so if you'd like to talk to us about anything to do with what Nimit has gone through today, please do reach out. I'm more than happy to liaise and get Nimit to come and have a conversation with any of you guys. So please feel free to contact us if you've got any further questions. other than that, I think from myself, just a massive thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you found some benefit, and Nimit, I'll hand over to you for some final thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I think for the developer community who understands these situations or the different use cases, I'm sure they would have found how eventing is helping us in a very, very smart manner. And we are quite knowledgeable or clear about this kind of challenges that we normally face in this kind of use cases. And you will know how eventing supports. Absolutely, Elliot, as he mentioned, feel free to contact us if you have any more questions or detailed information that is needed on this piece. And again, massive thank you everyone for joining today.